Good afternoon all of you, and thanks a lot for waiting for this. Due to unfortunately certain incidents, we could not go with our economic survey discussions, but I'm resuming them now and I hope to get into things hereafter. So what we will be doing is we will be beginning with chapter on inflation, the economic survey chapter, and we will go on like this. So we begin with the first slide. Economic survey talks about the global inflation trends. That is one thing that they talk about, the global inflation trends. So what are these global inflation trends as we get into? So when we look into these global inflation trends, survey says that the inflation peaked in 2022 at 8.7% due to supply chain disruptions. So what were these supply chain disruptions? One was closed units due to COVID pandemic. पैंडमिक के वजह से काफ़ी सारे कंपनीज बंद हो गई थी, तो जो सप्लाई चेन में कंट्रीब्यूशन था वो नहीं कर पा रहे थे. अनदर वाज कंटेनर्स बिकमिंग कॉस्टलियर. जो शिपिंग कंटेनर्स थे वो कॉस्टलियर हो रहे थे. एंड देन ऑफ कोर्स वॉर्स लाइक रशिया यूक्रेन वॉर, इजराइल हमास वॉर, Houthi rebels bombing the Red Sea, so Suez Canal was not operational. Apart from Suez Canal not being operational, there was another challenge that even the Panama Canal got stifled for a few months. So all that was the challenge we were creating with respect to the global inflationary tendencies. That was the challenge that we saw with respect to the global inflationary tendencies. Survey लेकिन बोलते हैं that it has declined to 5.7% since then, aided by policy measures. So what kind of policy measures? One is synchronized increase in interest rate by all central banks. जितने भी central bank थे ये synchronize करके interest rate बढ़ा चुके थे. So that created a possibility where they said, all right, we will be able to control things. उसके अलावा the countries tried exchanging food grains with each other to control inflation. The supply chains were revived very quickly to control inflation, especially the containers were supplied especially by European nations. So all these were factors that led to moderation in international commodity prices. Solid harvests, that was one. Favorable growing conditions and improving supply conditions have contributed to softening of global food inflation. Although India is an exception to this trend, India's food inflation has remained high due to inflation in edible oil. हमारा एक चैलेंज ये रहा, और हम सोयाबीन ऑयल एंड पाम ऑयल ये काफ़ी इंपोर्ट करते हैं और इन दोनों का प्राइस बहुत बढ़ता रहा. द प्राइस ऑफ सोयाबीन ऑयल एंड पाम ऑयल बोथ काइंड ऑफ केप्ट इंक्रीजिंग क्वाइट अ बिट. सो इन्फ्लेशन इन एडिबल ऑयल एंड इन्फ्लेशन इन वेजिटेबल्स, लॉट ऑफ हेडेक बिकॉज ऑफ दैट. जो वेजिटेबल्स हैं उनमें भी टमेटो, पटेटो, अनियन, दे हैव बीन heavily under inflation. और इसका रीज़न ये नहीं है कि हमारी ग्रोथ कम है, ये समझिएगा सब लोग ज़रूर. अभी मैं आगे टमेटो पर अनियन पे और बातें भी हम लोग करेंगे. But it's not that we are growing less, we are still growing sufficient, but the real, maybe onion has dropped a little in the last couple of years, but overall we are growing sufficient. The problem is supply chain here, storage capacity, transportation facility, processing facility. So India's challenge is that. So we need to focus on our agricultural productivity to improve these things better. Now if we go further, कि इंडिया के, अब ये प्रिंस के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से इंपॉर्टेंट है, वैसे सुनोगे, that in India retail inflation moderated from 5.4% in 24 to 4.9% April to December 25. तो रिटेल इन्फ्लेशन बोलते हैं CPI combined, that is retail inflation, CPI combined, इसमें भी अगर देखा जाए तो CPI rural has remained higher and CPI urban has come down. You know, CPI rural has still remained above 5.2%. CPI urban has been around 4.7%. So the average is 4.9%. But overall CPI rural has been doing like that. अब कुछ चीज़ें अगर देखें, CPI inflation if you see starting from April 22, तो ट्रेंड क्या याद रखना है? अब देखिए यहाँ स्पाइक है और ये स्पाइक क्या है? दिस जून टू अक्टूबर सिनेरियो when the vegetable prices go up, and if you see because of this very high base it looked relatively less here. It was not that the prices were low here, please don't confuse that. ये high base था यहाँ, inflation was above 6% here, so this inflation came to somewhere a little lesser because of that. अगर मैं core inflation को देखूं, that shows almost a declining trend if you see. And what is core inflation? Core inflation is CPI combined minus inflation in food and fuel. एक बात का ध्यान रखोगे, इंडिया में जब फ्यूल इन्फ्लेशन मेजर होता है, then we take kerosene and electricity. We don't take petrol, diesel, which ideally we should. You know, so ये एक मिस्टेक है इंडिया के कोर इन्फ्लेशन प्रेजेंटेशन में. 2 साल पहले इकोनॉमिक सर्वे ने एक सिस्टम निकाला था. 2 years ago economic survey brought an adjusted core inflation and called it effective core inflation, and in that what they did was from CPI combined they subtracted food and fuel and they subtracted price of transportation, which is a proxy for petrol and diesel. So they had done it 2 years ago, but they have kind of not done it now. अब एक चीज और देखिए, wholesale price inflation has shown itself in negative zone, mainly because wholesale price index is heavily affected by inputs. So if we look at commodity prices in the world, especially minerals, metals, those prices came down in this 23 time period with less demand and global markets slowing down, and that resulted in wholesale price inflation in the negative. So we see wholesale price index which was higher than CPI dropped after 22, has continuously now remained below CPI. It has come back to positive zone but remained. So again prelims के point of view से क्या याद रखिएगा, after August September 22 wholesale price index has remained below consumer price index. You know, that is what we will keep in mind, that after 22 wholesale price index remains below consumer price index. और इनमें divergence इसलिए होता है because wholesale price index covers majorly input prices while consumer price index covers majorly output prices, plus consumer price index contains market price, so that is on net indirect taxes included. In wholesale price index we don't see the net indirect taxes included entirely, apart from excise duty in some spaces because they are charged at the factory level. Then if we see और गो फर्दर, एक और बात इसमें ध्यान रखेंगे हम लोग, दैट जो ये हमारे होलसेल प्राइस इंडिसेस हैं, दे हैव शोन एन अपवर्ड ट्रेंड, मींस इवन जीडीपी डिफ्लेटर विल टेंड टू शो एन अपवर्ड ट्रेंड. देन यू नो वी सी इन फूड इन्फ्लेशन, नाउ फूड इन्फ्लेशन फॉर्मिंग अबाउट 40% of CPI basket. In fact, you know, 39% approximately is food, another 5% is beverages and tobacco. So overall around 44% gets affected when the food inflation happens, and that has been a major driver. इसमें भी अगर मैं बोलूँ तो vegetable inflation in most of the months has been greater than 15%, and that is a worrying trend in India. That you know, with such high level of vegetable inflation we need to get worked up a little to make sure we do better. एक और चीज़ जो नया पे inflation create कर रहा है वो है milk, greater than 12% in last 4 years average, I am saying. So these are some factors we are seeing, and we have seen that food inflation has remained firm, diverging from global trends. कि globally food inflation कम हो रहा है, इंडिया में ज़्यादा है. अब इसके 3 reasons हैं, मैं काफ़ी reasons दे सकता हूँ but 3 prime reason याद रखोगे. 1, lack of supply chain development, in high value crops like fruits, vegetables, etc. Second, high demand for vegetables with rising income and direct subsidies. You know, direct subsidies like a Ladki Bahin Yojana, direct subsidy like a Mahila Samman Yojana. So if I give a woman 1500 rupees, 2000 rupees per month, many people say she'll send a child to a good school, maybe, but you need good schools for that to happen. What the women would do first up is she'll start buying more milk, she'll start buying more vegetables, more fruits, because wheat and rice we are giving free of cost, more pulses. That is again a challenge we see. And third, high dependence on import of edible oil and pulses. In fact, again, these are things we should watch out for. We are heavily a wheat rice economy. If we can control on that wheat rice syndrome and make sure that some more land is devoted to edible oil, to pulses, we can do far better than what we are doing at the moment. So crop diversification is a very key factor. Sustainable supply chain with storage houses, storehouses, warehousing, cold storage chain, connectivity to the market, processing facility, grading and packaging facility, इससे वेस्टेज कम होगा. तो ये फूड इन्फ्लेशन, कुछ लोग कहते हैं फूड प्रोडक्शन बढ़ाइए, वो तो बढ़ाइए, प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ाइए, ईश्वर की कृपा से फूड प्रोडक्शन बढ़ेगा. सो गो फॉर इंक्रीज प्रोडक्शन, बट डोंट गो फॉर इंक्रीज प्रोडक्शन विद द सेम चैनल. Go for increased production by increasing productivity. Give good irrigation facility to the farmers, better quality seeds to the farmer, protection of crop from unseasonal rainfall, etc. Provide farmers then with institutional support like weather report, marketing report, and then give good market infrastructure, processing infrastructure, storage capacity, and we will see agriculture booming in India big time, combined with industry that is processing, combined with services that is transportation, storage. So that should be India's general idea. All right, then if we go further into this, we see that vegetable and pulses hold 8.42% weight in total basket, but they are responsible for 32.3% inflation in fiscal year 25. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? A majority of inflation we are experiencing this year is because of vegetable and pulses. तो इसी बात पे पिछले स्लाइड पे मैं लेक्चर दे रहा था कि ये जो कारण क्या है, फिर इसके कारण है इंपोर्ट सप्लाई चेन नहीं स्टैब्लिश करना, कारण है डोमेस्टिक प्रोसेसिंग यूनिट्स को. आप सोचिए पीएम किसान संपदा, मेगा फूड पार्क, ये पढ़ते पढ़ाते साल बीतते जा रहे हैं, बट इनका इम्पैक्ट नजर नहीं आता उतना. दिस इज समथिंग वी शुड वर्क ऑन टू मेक आवर एग्रीकल्चर मोर प्रॉस्पेरस. एंड देन टमेटोज और अनियन को अगर एक्सक्लूड कर दें, सर्वे ऐसा बताता है, then food inflation comes down to 6.5% from 8.4%. आप सोचिए, इसका मतलब 20% contribution, 25% contribution in food inflation is because of tomato and onion. अब ये भी सोचिए कि टमेटो, अनियन, पोटैटो स्कीम हमने 2018 में लॉन्च की थी. अभी तक अगर हम इस प्राइस को कंट्रोल नहीं कर पा रहे, it needs some soul searching. That we had launched the scheme in 2018. Okay, I grant there was a pandemic in between. Then we expanded the scheme and made it Operation Green, 22 crops. And if we cannot still control inflation, I think we should do some soul searching and improve our position from here. Headline inflation, अब देखिए, this red curve, headline inflation has been going down in June, July and then gone up again September, October. अगर टॉप को एक्सक्लूड कर दिया जाए, if we exclude tomato, onion and potato, then there is a significant decline in headline inflation, barring this time period when because of monsoon, in any case the other products are in shortage and prices go up. And again, if you see, the gap is huge between headline inflation. If we remove top, just three vegetables, tomato, onion, potato, और अगर मैं vegetable और pulses को हटा दूं पूरी तरह, तो आप देखिए we are hardly having inflation in that 3% to 4% trajectory. This is something that we need to work on and check that हम, इसका मतलब हमारे यहाँ के इन्फ्लेशन का असली कारण फूड इन्फ्लेशन है, तो हमें वर्क भी फूड इन्फ्लेशन के प्रोडक्ट्स को या के कारण को कंट्रोल करने में लगाना चाहिए. If food inflation is creating issues for me, I should work on removing food inflation tendencies from my country rather than anything else. Then of course ये consumer food price index को अगर देखें तो इसको भी आप देखिए, it takes a dip here because oil prices had also gone up slightly here, so it is showing like that. अब यहाँ भी देखिए, टॉप को एक्सक्लूड कर दें, there is a huge gap, और vegetable and pulses को एक्सक्लूड कर दें, there is a huge gap. So what I am only trying to convince you here is that our major inflation is not because demand is high. Commodity demand अगर आप देखें, रेफ्रिजरेटर, एयर कंडीशनर, वॉशिंग मशीन, टेलीफोन, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा, इन चीज़ों को देखें, ये डिमांड हाई नहीं है. यहाँ फर्म्स को एक्सेस कैपेसिटी है, तो यहाँ ज़रूरत है इन्वेस्टमेंट बढ़े, यहाँ ज़रूरत है गवर्नमेंट सपोर्ट कर पाए, ऑटोमोबाइल एक्सेट्रा. इन्फ्लेशन क्यों हाई है? फूड इन्फ्लेशन इज मेजरली द अपटिक फैक्टर. Fuel has remained almost constant in India because of the election year last year. So government didn't let the oil marketing company change their price much. Plus with Russian oil coming cheap, we have not been in trouble. But food is the key factor where we should keep focusing. And within food, it is vegetable and pulses. Within food, it is tomato, onion and potato. So we're trying to highlight that through this. Then comes another thing, reasons for inflation in tomato and onion as given by survey. So one is India between 2022 to 24, India experienced heat waves on 18% of days compared to 5% in 20 and 21. Valid, granted, hence infrastructure support needed. ये सर्वे नहीं कह रहे, मैं कह रहा हूँ, मेरे हिसाब से ये इसीलिए चाहिए. Infrastructure support needed. Climate resilient seeds to be, climate resilient seeds to be developed. ये कह के हाथ पे हाथ नहीं रख सकते ना कि ग्लोबल वार्मिंग हो गई, धूप आ गया, गर्मी आ गई. ठीक है, मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ ये गलत कारण है, कारण सही है, but point is we will have to be prepared. We are in a globally heating world. We know things are not going to get easy next time, so we need to do these things, create infrastructure, promote cold storage facilities, promote crop coverage in case of a lot of heat happening. Then another is uneven and unseasonal rainfall and heat waves impacts vegetable production and also storage and transport, and thereby increasing prices. Therefore, cold storage chain, therefore NAFED, National Agricultural Marketing Federation, to be activated. NAFED का क्या काम होना चाहिए? जिस साल अच्छा क्रॉप है और किसान को कम पैसे मिल रहे हैं, कम से कम खरीद के रख लें अपने पास. If the crop is like last year tomato crop, bumper crop, the farmers were getting 2 rupees per kg in March, and by July the price rose to 150 rupees per kg. Why? Again, monsoon happened, crops got rotten, processing facility was not there, and we lost out on things. So we need to increase the area under vegetables, no doubt, but we need to increase productivity. We need to protect them from unseasonal activities. We need to create more accurate weather predictions for the farmer so they can take defensive measures. that अच्छा मान लीजिए बारिश जोर की आने वाली है, ओले पड़ने वाले, if there is going to be a hailstorm or big rainfall, I can at least take a protection activity and giving farmers technological support to help them during these duress situation. Then of course there is regional concentration of tomato and onion production in few states like Gujarat, MP, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh. And that what happens is, by chance anything wrong happens in one of these states, the supply chain gets disrupted. And that is why I am insisting processing is important. Onion को dried onion बनाइए, onion paste बनाइए, टमेटो का टमेटो प्यूरी बनाइए, टमेटो केचप बनाइए. मैं मानता हूँ फिर भी कुछ लोग रॉ टमेटो, रॉ अनियन ढूंढेंगे, बट बहुत सारे लोग जो इसको खाना बनाने में यूज करेंगे वो इस तरफ शिफ्ट करें. Then in that case the demand can be managed. It is not that every human household, every Indian household is looking for a raw tomato only. People are looking for tomato puree if it is affordable, if it is hygienic, if it is properly packaged, and most importantly if it can reach the kitchen faster. So processed food again can be our answer there. Of course seasonality of production is one thing, hence storage. We know production is seasonal, mostly Rabi. It all begins around end July, beginning of August. tomato, onion, potato, and majorly gets produced in November, December, January, February, March, going up till April. So of course then that means that 5 months of the year, December to February, March, we should be very well prepared, store them, process them, keep them, transportation network should be well established, and then when we know that May, June, July, August, the growth won't be as much, let's not let the price rise. What we can do is, rather than letting the price rise, we can control things there and make sure that things can be done better, in a sense that rather than letting the price rise, supply commodity to the market. जो काम हमने राइस और वीट के साथ किया था 60s और 70s में, and we could stabilize the price very well. Vegetables are crying for that help at the moment in India, and when tomato, onion, potato program was announced, I was very pleased that maybe something nice is coming up, and it is something nice that has come up, but I think we have been very slow. We should speed up and scale up in this field. Then of course, so seasonality is a challenge we need to take care. तो अब क्या क्या दिया इन्होंने? Weather conditions, extreme weather events, that is regional concentration leads to supply chain disruption, and seasonality of production, and then fundamentally from post harvest losses. Again, it needs post harvest infrastructure creation, you know, and then seasonal production and regional dispersion, as domestic production is greater than domestic consumption of tomato and onion. तो अब शेल्फ लाइफ छोटा है, 2 ही वीक का है, तो इंपोर्ट नहीं कर सकते इसे, प्लस 50% ऑफ ग्लोबल मार्केट तो इंडिया ही और चाइना प्रोड्यूस करते हैं, तो किससे इंपोर्ट करेंगे? बेचेगा कौन हमें? चाइना अपने लोगों को खिलाएगा, हम अपने लोगों को खिलाएं. सो वी कांट इंपोर्ट टोमेटो, अनियन और पोटैटो. What potato to some extent we can, but tomato and onion not at all. So what is a way out? Save what we are producing, improve the productivity of the farmer. So I'll keep harping on that. Always keep in mind. तो अगर पूछा जाए 3 चीज बताइए जो टोमेटो अनियन के लिए करना चाहिए. 1, create district level farming cooperatives which can directly purchase from even small farmers. Number 1, create district level farming cooperatives which can directly purchase even from small farmer. किसी के पास 1 kg extra है, half a kg extra है, 2 kg extra है, purchase it. Increases farmers income and brings better returns to the market. Number 2, scale up programs like Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, National Warehouse Depository Receipts, to make sure there is proper transportation, there is proper storing, there is proper packaging and measurement. Private sector को, public sector firms को, सभी को instigate करिए. Set up startups in this sector, agricultural logistics, call it that. If we can do that, that's the second thing that will happen, which will make sure wastages are controlled, transportation is quick, storages are better developed, और तीसरी सबसे important चीज, processing को promote करिए. We are still lagging behind with respect to hygiene, with respect to processing unit scaling, that is large scale processing units, with respect to better connectivity of processing unit to the wholesalers and retailers. So scale up processing units, Kisan Sampada Yojana, mega food park schemes, इनको scale up करें, इनको implement करें. These are the 3 ways in which we can assure that the challenges written here can be controlled. साथ में क्या करिए? Agriculture R&D पे ध्यान दीजिए, seeds अच्छे grow करिए, crops के protection का तरीका निकालिए, so that adverse climate conditions can be mitigated. We cannot eliminate, I am fully aware of that, but we can take mitigating steps. तो अगर mitigate करेंगे, कम करेंगे, तो जो wastages होती हैं वो भी थोड़ी कम होने लगेंगी, जो growth में दिक्कत आती है वो कम आएगी. Varieties ढूंढिए which is weather resistant. So if we can grow that, do that, again we are doing well over here. Then of course they say that there is inflation in tur, you know, pulse. Tur India में one of the most consumed pulse है, that is tur. Almost North India to South India, West India to East India, tur is consumed quite a lot. So deficient production of tur in 22-23 and 23-24 has led to high price pressures in tur dal last 2 years. अभी हम import कर रहे हैं Mozambique से tur, import कर रहे हैं घाना से भी, so there is some supply coming in, but यही हमारी policy consistent होनी चाहिए. If we give good price to the farmers, again if we create proper supply chain जैसा wheat और rice में बना रखा है, traders को educate करें that purchase these things and store with yourself, so then again tur production can be higher. Chickpea production is required to be higher, chana dal बोलते हैं जिसे, needs to be higher. Rajma is being grown in Punjab of late, in Gurdaspur district, in Amritsar district. These are places where Rajma is being targeted. Even though Punjab soil was not fully conducive, but they have done changes to develop that, which is a very good beginning. So if Punjab, Haryana, Western Uttar Pradesh, which are already well developed spaces of India, can grow pulses, can grow edible oil seeds, then Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal, Orissa, they can take care of wheat and rice especially. They can take care of particular types of fruits and vegetables. Also, Punjab, Haryana can take care of vegetables and fruits. Organic farming can be promoted. जैसे गुंटूर डिस्ट्रिक्ट में जी सोहिनी है एक एग्रीकल्चरिस्ट, उन्होंने 32 एकड़ लैंड पे ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग की. her turnover is in crores today. So this is what we can spread to our farmers, Then we have Dilbag Singh in Punjab. He grows brinjal, potato and brinjal, cauliflower and cabbage. यही तीन चीज़ें ग्रो करते हैं. वो टाइमिंग ठीक रखते हैं. मार्केट में कैबेज ज़्यादा आता है नवंबर में, ये क्या करते हैं अक्टूबर में अपना कैबेज को मैच्योर कर लेते हैं. तो नवंबर मिड आते आते हिज कैबेज इज इन द मार्केट, ही गेट्स वेरी हाई प्राइस. सेम थिंग ही डज विद कॉलीफ्लावर, same thing he does with brinjal, and with 8 acre land he earns 2 lakh rupees per month. So these are examples where farmers diversify away from agriculture, from wheat and rice, and they can grow very well for themselves. Fuman Singh is another example. He grows radish and carrot in Punjab. Carrot is the major seed that he grows, और carrot seeds भी grow करते हैं, और 60 एकड़ ज़मीन पे खेती करते हैं, इसमें 4 एकड़ carrot seeds को देते हैं, and his annual turnover is more than 20 lakh rupees, 25 lakh rupees. So when you look at these people, when you look at the way they have grown, G Babu again from Andhra Pradesh shifted to growing papaya, pomegranate, jackfruit, and turnover 40 lakh rupees. ये सारे example अगर हम देखेंगे तो हमें पता चलेगा that farmers, when they diversify and grow other crops, not wheat and rice, they do much better for themselves. So this is something we should be focusing on. Then another thing is lower production in one year typically results in higher inflation in the following year with a correlation coefficient of -0.8. ये होना ही है. देखिए एग्रीकल्चर जो है वो हमेशा एक लैग के साथ ऑपरेट करता है. तो जब प्रोडक्शन एक साल में कम होगा तो सप्लाई अगले साल कम पाई जाएगी, साथ में किसान अगले साल डिस्करेज्ड होंगे. नेक्स्ट ईयर द फार्मर विल थिंक लेट्स नॉट प्रोड्यूस दिस क्रॉप, इट इज नॉट गिविंग अस गुड रिटर्न, एंड देन द सप्लाई गोज डाउन. सो वी नीड टू प्रोटेक्ट द फार्मर्स फ्रॉम दीज फ्लक्चुएशंस इन एवरी क्रॉप to make sure that if one year it's a bad year, the next year can be made up to be a better year. Okay, then survey says what are the administrative measures to control food inflation. ये बहुत important है आपके प्रीलिम्स में भी और मेंस में भी. अगर मेंस में पूछते हैं क्या स्टेप लिए हैं सरकार ने फूड इन्फ्लेशन कंट्रोल करने को, आप ये सारा लिख सकते हैं, और प्रीलिम्स में स्टेटमेंट देके पूछेंगे has this step been taken or not for controlling food inflation. So stock limits on wheat, to prevent hoarding, कि wheat को एक लिमिट से ज़्यादा होर्ड या रखना अलाउ नहीं किया गया. Open market sale scheme for wheat and rice at price 20 to 30% below market price. सरकार के गोडाउन में जो wheat और राइस है उनको रिलीज किया गया, और मार्केट प्राइस से 20 to 30% बिलो पे they have been selling it. Sale under Bharat brand, wheat flour, rice. They also sold chickpea. The economic survey doesn't mention it, but दाल भी बेचा था उन्होंने. तो wheat flour, आटा, चावल और दाल, ये तीन चीजें बेच रहे थे अंडर भारत ब्रांड all over the country, again at a subsidized rate. Then in pulses, further sale under Bharat brand, chana, moong and masoor dal. ड्यूटी फ्री इंपोर्ट ऑफ देसी चना, तूर, उड़द, मसूर एंड येलो पीस. इस बजट से कनेक्ट करना. इस बजट में पल्सेस को लेकर तूर, मूंग एंड उड़द सरकार ने बोला है वी विल बी फोकसिंग मोर ऑन दैट. तो इस बजट से कनेक्ट करोगे अपने आंसर राइटिंग में, दैट लुक सर्वे सजेस्टेड दिस एंड द बजट इज सेइंग लुक वी नीड मोर प्रोडक्शन, वी आर डूइंग दैट. एंड देन स्टॉक लिमिट्स ऑन तूर एंड देसी चना. सो government has taken major steps are stock limits, open market sales scheme and selling under Bharat brand. And for vegetables, they did subsidized sale of onion and tomato. In fact, in July, government used NAFED to sell 100,000 tons of tomato and onion. And then buffer stock creation of onion. ये एक नई चीज़ इंडिया में शुरू की जा रही है जो बहुत अच्छी चीज़ है. That let's create a buffer stock of onion because we know that every year there is inflation that happens. So if we have a buffer stock, we can make sure that onion prices can be controlled. If we have a buffer stock, we can make sure that onion prices can be controlled. Then we go further. The outlook that survey presents is inflation is expected to align with the 4% target in future due to decline in prices of major imported commodities. तो इनके प्राइस डिक्लाइन से एक कारण है कि हम वापस 4% पे आएंगे. दूसरा नॉर्मल 24 मॉनसून which will mean खरीफ crop has done well plus good sowing in Rabi season. I just hope the extremely hot weather conditions in February and March don't hurt us much. But sowing in Rabi season has been pretty good. And then government supply side measures, the one we were discussing on the previous slide. एक और बात है, the risks remain rising international vegetable oil prices, and as long as supply chain is not well established, this will happen. Economic uncertainty, and now Trump is there, so we see the tariff war is begun, that can hit our inflation badly. Rise in price of natural gas, that is another thing. But you know, there are three structural impact on inflation which we should not forget. ये सरकार को भी समझना चाहिए कि इन्फ्लेशन को बहुत ज़्यादा कंट्रोल करना उतना आसान नहीं होगा. One of that structural impact is transition to green energy, and that won't be cheap. तो हमारे एनर्जी सोर्सेस कॉस्टली होने वाले हैं या हो रहे हैं. तो ट्रांजिशन टू ग्रीन एनर्जी विल बी having one structural impact on inflation. So over long run we will get stabilized, but right now we will be struggling. The second impact is impact of climate change on food inflation. Impact of climate change on food inflation. The third impact, और ये ग्लोबल लेवल पे होगा, सिर्फ इंडिया में नहीं, ये ग्लोबली अफेक्ट करेगा हमें विदाउट एनी डाउट कि जब क्लाइमेट चेंज होगा फूड प्राइसेस फ्लक्चुएट करेंगे, वेजिटेबल्स, फ्रूट्स, फूड ग्रेन्स, पल्सेस, वी विल बी स्ट्रगलिंग. एंड थर्ड इज राइजिंग डीग्लोबलाइजेशन. डीग्लोबलाइजेशन धीरे धीरे तो हो ही रहा है. मे बी डीग्लोबलाइजेशन इज अ स्ट्रॉन्ग वर्ड, मे बी वी आर एटलीस्ट डी रिस्किंग ऑल ऑफ अस. तो पहले क्या था, द चीपेस्ट प्रोड्यूसर यूज टू सप्लाई, चाइना मेजरली, वियतनाम, ताइवान. बट नाउ थिंग्स हैव चेंज्ड. फ्रेंड शोरिंग इज हैपनिंग. यू मे नॉट बी द चीपेस्ट बट यू शुड बी अश्योर्ड. पक्का दे दोगे मुझे सामान तो तुमसे खरीदूंगा, अगर पक्का नहीं दोगे नहीं खरीदूंगा. सो इफ यू आर सर्टेन, मे बी यू कैन बी अ स्लाइटली कॉस्टलियर person, I'll still buy from you because certainty is at premium at the moment. So from cheapest producer to certain producer, and that can be a challenge in future because I don't see this thing stopping in another decade or so. So that will be again throwing a challenge on our inflation. And in Indian context, add another point, this is only for India. High growth of GDP will increase demand, which will be further enhanced by demography. We are a young, very young country, more than 50% of population below 35 years of age. They will earn, they will grow, they will demand more, and remember, they will demand more clothes, they will demand more shoes, they will demand more food that is processed food, they will demand more electrical appliances, electronic goods, they are all manufacturing. We can't only do services and grow. So we will have to make sure we manufacture well within our country. So that is where structural reforms for manufacturing would be very important, very relevant. So unless we don't focus on these structural challenges of inflation will come back to bite us. We should always be careful on things here. All right, then what is the way forward? As I told you earlier, focused research to develop climate resilient crop varieties, reducing crop damage. This is storage and transportation, expansion of area under pulses in rice fallow regions, क्योंकि राइस और वीट क्या करते हैं, नाइट्रोजन एक्सट्रैक्ट करते हैं, पल्स क्या करता है, लेग्यूम्स क्या होते हैं, नाइट्रोजन फिक्सेटिंग होते हैं. सो इफ आई कैन ग्रो पल्सेस, राइस, wheat, pulses, they will fixate nitrogen back, the use of urea will come down, which will help us quite a bit. So this is again something we should do. हमारा cost of production agriculture में high है because our productivity is low. So even if we increase area under the crop, we will have to focus on productivity to keep it normal. Also promoting extension services to encourage greater adoption. Extension services like weather report, soil report, market condition report, micro irrigation facilities. ये जो भी किसान को आप एक्सटेंड करके सर्विसेज देंगे जो उनको बेहतर बनाए, दे आर योर एक्सटेंशन सर्विसेज. वी नीड टू गेट देम टू मेक श्योर दे डाइवर्सिफाई द क्रॉप, दे फोकस ऑन हाई वैल्यू कमोडिटी. एक बात और हमें देखना पड़ेगा, व्हाट इज इंडिया बाइंग. सो it has been observed in many cases that we give free rice, free wheat, but the result is many people are using this to sell it back in the market and use that money to purchase other crops. In some cases in Bihar, in Jharkhand, आप में से जो लोग वहाँ से हैं आप मेरी बात समझेंगे, उत्तर प्रदेश, पंजाब, इनमें बहुत जगह पे ये देखा जा रहा है that people who are rich are still getting this food grain for free, और ये इसको अपने कैटल को खिला दे रहे हैं, जानवर को खिला देते हैं जो सस्ता फूड ग्रेन आता है. So this is something, this is waste. Either we are selling it off or feeding it to the cattle. So we should control the subsidy we are giving on food inflation, on basic food, and we should start using that money for developing fruits, vegetables, nutrition, eggs, milk, etc. And then implementing robust data collection, very important. Census करवाएं हम पहले तो हमें भला होगा हमारा. Analysis systems to monitor prices, ये district level पे होने चाहिए, that जो price fluctuation है हर साल monitor किया जाए. We will be able to get better results there. Stocks and holdings at different levels to inform policy decision. I will add one thing to this. Interstate coordination to make sure proper supply chain is established between producing states and consuming states. Interstate coordination to make sure proper supply chain is established between producing states and consuming states. अगर 4 या 5 स्टेट हैं जो अनियन और टमेटो ग्रो करते हैं, लेकिन 25 स्टेट हैं जो वो कंज्यूम करते हैं, then develop an interstate body. एग्रीकल्चर को बहुत ज़रूरत है. Like a GST council, we should have an agriculture council. The states should sit together, decide on procurement, decide on transportation, decide on usage. Then it won't happen कि एक स्टेट में गलत है और वहाँ सड़ रहा है क्रॉप, और दूसरे स्टेट में शॉर्टेज है और वहाँ इन्फ्लेशन हाई है. This is something we need to stop. We need to think पैन इंडिया. हमसे बेहतर यूरोपियन यूनियन सोच लेते हैं इन चीज़ों में, वो एक मार्केट बन जाते हैं और हम लोग अलग अलग मार्केट बने हुए हैं. सो आई थिंक इन जीएसटी वी डिड अ ग्रेट डील एंड वी हैव बीन एबल टू यूनिफाई द कंट्री. एग्रीकल्चर अगेन नीड्स दैट. ऑल्सो instigate the farmers to be entrepreneurs. So integrated farming के साथ साथ beekeeping, apiary, that is cattle rearing, poultry, fishery, ये डेवलप करेंगे तो स्केल मिलेगा, लार्ज स्केल प्रोडक्शन, एंड देन दे विल एक्ट लाइक एंटरप्रेन्योर्स, go for better distribution channel, localized cold harvesting chains will come in. This is something that India should again go towards. Thank you all then. This was chapter 4 and thanks a lot all of you for waiting and working on this. I promise you we will complete the survey. It's just that a few things have happened on my health, etc. So we couldn't do that. But I will be meeting you soon. I'll let you know. We will get informed through the next IAS channel. We will meet soon for chapter 7 now. This is the end of first part. 1, 2 and 4 done. Next we will begin with chapter 7, industries, very soon. Thank you. All the best. Bye-bye all of you.